I was born in Fresno, California. I was raised in Firebaugh, Mendota, California. I went to school, started kindergarten here in Firebaugh, and eventually made my way around. Ended up back in Firebaugh and graduated from Firebaugh High School. It wasn't really too much going on. It was a training exercise. We went out there, we got to blow some stuff up, and target practice, stuff like that. The hardest thing I think was the heat. Coming back was actually really cool because before I left, I had developed some kind of like a shaving rash. So I was given a no shaving chit in the military when I was in Kuwait. So I couldn't shave the whole time I was in Kuwait. And so I was growing like a goatee and everything. It was funny because you can't grow that. And, I don't think they probably do now, but I couldn't grow. You couldn't grow anything unless you were given a chit that said you can, not shave. So during the no shaving chit process, you know, I came back from Kuwait, and there were at the beginning of every month they have orders, and then the orders are if it was your time, you got promoted. And so I was just a lance corporal, and I was a young kid just getting into the Marine Corps, but I already had orders to get promoted to corporal. And so for me, that was the coolest thing because my non-commissioned officers that were in charge of me, they said, "Hey, you're going to shave that off because you're not getting promoted with a goatee." And so so I shaved it off, and that morning, because we had just got there that morning, and they did the promotion right there, and it was great. It was a great experience. I think it was adjusting to civilian life in the military, especially in the Marine Corps. It's about time management. Everything you're doing, it's for a purpose. There is no lollygagging or just hanging around and not doing anything. I was working for one of these guys over here, and I would sell tractor parts to people that would come into the store. And I was yes sir, no sir, and they would always be like, "You can't yes sir, no see me. I work for a living," and I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, that's just the way I'm brought up," And so that was the hard part, was adjusting to that. Sleeping in was hard. It's still hard. I can't sleep in. I have to wake up, and going to sleep early is hard too. It's just part of my character, I guess. With time management and that piece is like I said, it sticks with me. I do everything on the clock and a certain amount of time. My wife, even she started adapting to my routine because we would go out to eat and it would be a race because I would be done with my food in like less than 5 minutes, and she would take her forever, and so she would be like, "You gotta slow down," and I was like, "Well, you gotta catch up." So yeah, I imagine my wife did. My mom and my dad. I don't think he really had too much to say, but my mom, she didn't really even want me to join the Marine Corps. She was like, "You're crazy. I'm not letting you join." And I told her I'm old enough to sign the paperwork myself, so I signed the paperwork and got in. But my wife and my in-laws, they were kind of like they real spiritual, so they prayed for me and just said, God's good, God is with you. Just basic training. I know some of the other guys mentioned, the Marine Corps, you're trained to be a killer rifleman, right? They want you to be an expert at a rifle. That's what they train you for first. And after boot camp, they teach you how to do all the weapons training later on. So they'll teach you how to use all kinds of different machine guns, artillery, everything else that comes with it. But first, you're a rifleman and a killer. Actually, I was thinking of joining the Coast Guard. I knew I couldn't get into trouble in the Coast Guard, wouldn't see any action, would just be sitting in the coast, right? Save people's lives that were drowning or the boats got caught or something like that. And the Marine recruiter walked on campus here at the high school, and I could see his uniform, and it looked sharp. I go, I can see myself wearing that. And so I talked to the Marine recruiter, and there you go. So from 96 to 2000, there wasn't too much going on. There was Saddam Hussein, who had just finished the first Gulf War. He was starting up some issues again in Kuwait, and we were on alert. We couldn't go an hour away from the base. We had to stay within an hour. If we were going to go farther than an hour, we had to let our platoon sergeant know and let them know that we were planning on going, where we were going, exactly everywhere. And there was no cell phones back then. There were cell phones, but it wasn't like, the new ones you have now. And so to let them know, you had to know exactly where you were going, because they needed the phone number to that restaurant or that store. So everything was like that. And we actually got called back to the base, and we had to pack everything. They told us, we're going to Kuwait. We're going to war. And we packed up everything. We had everything all on these big giant air pallets. We were at the parking lot. We slept there that night. I actually told my wife, bye. I was like, I'll see you when I get back. And we were there. We woke up the next morning. Command came out and said, hey, you guys go home. It's off. We're clear. And so I went home, called my wife. Hey, we're clear. You can come home now. And so she came home, and everything was fine. A couple of months later, they wanted to do a training exercise, and they did the training exercise in Kuwait. And so they thought it would be a great idea for change of command. And so change of command is a big process, because you have an officer and another officer that are basically switching roles. And when they do a big ceremony, they like to make it huge. Well, they thought it would be a great idea to do a change of command in Kuwait. So we went to Kuwait and we did a training exercise, and one of it was change of command. So we switched our captains in Kuwait, and so Kuwait was one of the places I went to. If you're wanting to lose weight, that's a perfect place, because it's hot and humid. Yeah. If it like one of the other guys said, if it's something that you really want to do it. It's experience, because you're never going to regret it. I thought I regretted it at one time in my life, but you don't, because you have the good and the bad, but the good is going to outweigh the bad times, unless you're in like the most worst environment ever. But I think all the experiences that I have had in there, the friends that you build relationships with, the places you've got to see, you can't unsee that, undo that, none of that. And if when I went in, the reason why I went in was because I wasn't sure I was going to graduate from high school here. I was failing. If I had failed one class my senior year, I wouldn't have graduated high school. And so when I was talking to the Coast Guard recruiter, and then I ended up talking to the Marine recruiter, I was like, dude, I just need to get into something, because colleges aren't going to take me. I have no other option. I don't want to work out in the field. And so, they said, okay, well, we'll take you in the Marine Corps. And so I joined the Marine Corps. And don't underestimate yourselves, because I did underestimate myself, because in high school, like I said, I was failing. And I think the reason why I was failing was because I lacked that discipline that was there. And the Marine Corps, like I said, they're going to give you the discipline to succeed. After I got out of the military, I went to college. I graduated in the Marine Corps. I was taking college classes. And even in the school that they give you, I graduated second in the class. And so I was like, what, where did this come from, you know? And so going to college too, the same thing. I graduated second in the class, and I was like, wow, I had a 4.0. I was a 4.0 student for 3 associate's degrees. And I was just amazed. And so when I went, I don't know if it was the Marine Corps or just myself kicking myself in the butt and saying, hey, yeah, you can do this. Maybe it was both.